Okay. Bismillah. This course will be about FIDIC contract management. We will go through the FIDIC Red Book, which is prepared for construction and designed by employer, and we'll discuss the general conditions of the latest version of FIDIC, which is 2017. So these general conditions, also the previous version was 1999, so we can know also the differences between 2017 and 1999, like the key differences. So I'll start today like an introduction. I'll speak first introduction about myself and the course, how we'll go through the course, and can also open the FEDIC itself and see how does it look from its publication, or the how the structure of the FEDIC, to know its how does it look. First, this is myself, Muhammad Magid Higazi, project management consultant. I have master in construction law from Salford University, Manchester, UK, master of business administration from US, bachelor of science in civil engineering from Egypt, consultant in Saudi Council of Engineers, Saudi Arabia, member of Chartered Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, UK, certified cost professional, project management professional, portfolio program project offices credential, FEDIC consultant, author of 50 planning fundamentals and the fundamentals of construction contracts, and have experience more than 22 years in construction. Why this course? This course we will discuss the FEDIC, how to do the contract administration of FEDIC contract. So if you are in a project using the FEDIC contract, so you will be able to do contract administration using this contract, how to understand the clauses of the FEDIC, how they are linked with each other, the key mechanisms inside the contract, because you will find some mechanisms for the payment, for example, for the program and schedule, for timing, for many things. So you will find all these mechanisms. So you'll be familiar with the clauses of the FEDIC, these mechanisms, how you can use these clauses, and from which clause you can get what you need. What's FEDIC? FEDIC is International Federation of Consulting Engineers. So it is mainly focusing on consulting engineers. So it was like representing the consulting engineers around the world. So you can see the consulting engineers representatives in each country are participating with FEDIC, or like were members in the FEDIC, working with them to generate these standard forms. Like few years ago, FEDIC was only the member of FEDIC was only these entities, but currently you can see we have some credentials from FEDIC itself and certificates for the individuals. This was not applicable before. These associations or entities of consulting engineers can represent over 1 million engineering professionals and more than 40,000 firms in more than 100 countries. So this widespread and this can say global recognition makes it producing more practical contracts can be applied also globally. It's founded in 1913 to promote the consulting engineering industry. So you can see also when we go to the role of the engineer or role of consultant inside the FEDIC, you can see the engineers playing a vital role in the FEDIC contract, and also playing different roles. We can see in each situation what can be the role of the engineer. So they have publications of these standard forms. Also, we'll see the key standard forms, but they have, we can say right now, they have these forms can be used by clients, consultants, sub-consultant, joint venture representative, they have some subcontractors. They have for procurement and pre-qualification forms before pre-contract in the pre-contract stage. And they have some publications for also the like practice, business practice, including consultant selection, quality-based selection, tendering, procurement, capacity building, BIM. You can find BIM right now. What is their priorities and their targets? So they are leading the consultant and engineering industry effectively. They connect and support the members in around the world. So why to use the FIDIC contract? Why we need to use this contract, or how, or we can say how is it helpful, or what the advantages of these FIDIC contracts? From what we said, from the recognition or the participation, or also the support they are doing and networking around the world. So this experience make this international standard forms applicable and helpful, we can say, in many jurisdictions around the world with all types of projects. So it is already applied on over years and applied in many jurisdictions in many countries under the law of many countries, and also in all types of projects. So what the key ingredient of success in these contracts, why we are using this contract, and how we can get benefit from this application? The key ingredient for success is the balance of the risk allocation between the parties. So they share the responsibilities and the obligations between the parties, and the risk for the events, who will be responsible for each event and the consequences for each event on each party, in a balanced approach. What the meaning of this balanced approach? It means every party will be responsible for the things this party can control, or the things he should be responsible for it, which can make also, you can say, if you are doing like costing and pricing of contracts, you can find one of the key things we do in the pricing, we're adding the risk contingency to the price. So if you have in the contracts more risk allocated, for example, on the contractor will increase the prices. So once the contractor increase the prices, it will be like a disadvantage for the client or owner. So this balance somehow can be supporting the owner, we can say. So in the first place, you can think like this balance is supporting the contractor, because normally if the most of the contracts, you can say, in our field, these contracts are drafted by the owner. So if the owner is drafting the contract, he will try to avoid most of these risks and allocate these risks on the contractor. But on the other hand, it looks like safe for the employer, but on the other hand, it's not safe for the employer, because the employer or the client will get higher prices. So it is also for the benefit, or we can say it is mainly for the benefit for the employer or the client to get a fair price, which considers this balance sharing or balanced allocation of risks in the FIDIC contract. To be applicable on all projects, the key thing we can have from the FIDIC is the general conditions of contract. When you go to the contract, you will find especially the construction contract, you will find the contract. Inside the contract, there are many components. One of these key components, the FIDIC are here publishing or providing the standard for, is the general conditions. What the meaning of the general conditions? It is the general conditions applies on all general, can say the like the payment mechanism, the change mechanism, all these general things we have in our contracts. After that, we can go to the special or particular conditions and add the specific things for each project. What are the specific things you can find in each project? Different scope, different time. So these different specs, so all these specific things will not be added in the general conditions, and the FIDIC is not delivering or producing, because it is unique for each project, or it can be different from a project to project. So also they are supporting this. They acknowledge the special conditions required for project case by case basis, and they are also giving support in this in the drafting of the special conditions. Accordingly, we can say if we decided to use the FIDIC contract, so we need to take care of this, to be using the balanced form. If we are going to change or upsetting this balance, so we are not getting the benefit of using FIDIC. So we need to keep this balance inside the contract. Otherwise, if we are upsetting this balance, the risk will not be balanced, and it will result in higher prices, as we said, and can affect the completion, makes more like can say more disputes will crystallize between the parties, and affect the as more disputes affect the contract completion and may cause contract termination. So excuse me a second. So now we discussed what's FIDIC, why we are using FIDIC, what are the benefits of and the advantages of using this FIDIC. So a FIDIC like an entity. About the FIDIC, the advantages, the key advantages of using the FIDIC and the balance in the risk sharing. We will go to in the course to multiple sections. We will discuss one of these sections to discuss the basics of contracts, to know the contract life cycle, how the contract can be formed in the beginning to have a contract or a legal contract. Also, this contract, as we started saying, the FIDIC is applying in many jurisdictions, many countries under many laws. So we need also to understand what is the law and the international legal systems around the world, and how this can affect the application of the FIDIC or usage of the FIDIC. So this also will be discussed, the procurement procedure, to go also quickly about the pre-contract and how to start a contract and the types of contracts. And we can focus on the type of standard forms of FIDIC, because the classifications of contract is very wide from multiple perspectives. If we can say the contract life cycle, so we need to know the contract definition. So we need to have many things to have a contract in place, like a legal, the contract definition, it's a legal agreement between the parties to deliver something. How this contract can be legally formed. Also the phases of the contract, starting from why we are doing this contract, from the life cycle. We have the client or the employer need to do something, so there is a need in the beginning. This need will be tailored to a business case. They may do it in-house or hire a consultant to do this business case, to decide to do the contract, to prepare the contract document in the pre-award stage, making the tender, award the contract to a contractor, and closing the contract and running the contract administration post-award, and finally closing this contract. So this can be the stages how we initiate from the initiation to the closing of the contract, of any contract. Actually, you can also say we have contracts every day in our life. Where if we go to buy something from supermarket, it's a contract. You have a price, you have an offer. They are offering something. You see this offer, you accept to buy this thing. You go pay the money, get a receipt and the product, and go. So we are having contracts every day. You are going like in transportation, for example. So you have they have a fare or price. You go pay the price, get the service, and go. So you may have many contracts even in one day. So we have many contracts daily, and all these contracts, including the construction contracts, are governed by the law, and the law of each country can be different. So also the application of the FIDIC in each country will be affected with this law. Like this, or according to this, we have in the FIDIC, we have one of the sub clauses 1.4 is mentioning the governing law, also the law and the language clause. Contract shall be governed by the law of the country or other jurisdiction stated in the contract data, if not stated the law of the country. So mainly, even if it is stated inside the contract data, which is the special or particular conditions, the contract data mentioning a different law from the law of the country, we have the project inside it, it will be also affected by the law of the country. And it is not easy to do so. So normally the governing law is the law of the country we have this project applied or implemented, executed inside this country. This governing law will determine many things: the validity and enforceability of the contract, the rights and liability of the parties according to the legal system inside these countries, sometimes the consequences of breaches of contract, any violation by the parties, and these consequences, and how to measure these damages, and will it be compensated between the parties. As we have the clauses of the FIDIC, like this subclause, for example, 1.4, this is one of the FIDIC subclauses. So as we have these clauses and subclauses inside the FIDIC, this we call express terms. These terms or contract conditions are express terms, which is written and agreed between the parties and signed inside the contract. But the contract is not constituted by only these terms. The law is affecting also these terms by something we call implied terms. So this law imply other terms additional to the express terms we have inside the contract. Like we have this legal system is adding different things affecting all contracts we have inside the country. So all these things we have from the law, it's called implied terms. Sometimes you may go and sign a contract which is only 1 or 2 pages for renting apartment or for renting a car, but the law of the country, they are enforcing many other things to all the people working in this business. So the contract will not be only this 1 or 2 pages, it will include all these other laws or regulations can be implied or can be considered as implied terms additional to the express terms you signed with the other party. So it should be checked also if you are choosing a law different from the law of the country, it should be checked by legal people to see how this can be affected. For the procurement procedures, you go to the tender. As we said, we started from a need and then we went to a tender and contract stage. You have you receive offers from the contractors. These offers may be for a certain duration with expiry dates sometimes, but normally this there is a duration for the tender. They submit their offers during this duration. You evaluate these submissions and select one of the contractors. You can go to sometimes to negotiation stage and finalize this agreement to be finalized, and you have a contract in place. So during this, you have a letter of tender. So this letter of tender you get from the contractor sending their offers. So FIDIC are providing also a sample of this letter of tender. How does it look? Name of contractor to the client and what they are mentioning here. Also, this will be, they sign it and they put their data and they will attach their offer. And normally we have a financial and technical offer in our projects or in construction projects. After the employer gets these offers, he will select one of the contractors and send to them letter of acceptance. So also the FIDIC providing this letter of acceptance, a standard or a template of a letter of acceptance. So letter of acceptance, the formal acceptance signed by the employer, accepts one of the contractor's offers. So will accept one of these offers. After this, both parties they sign an agreement. But the contract is formed since we have this acceptance. So we have offer and the acceptance with the consideration and legal purpose and all these key things to form a contract. So we have a contract in place. And here they have to, the parties, they have to sign a contract agreement within 35 days after the letter of acceptance. So they may negotiate a bit on the agreement and then they sign an agreement. So we have here like letter of tender, letter of acceptance, contract agreement. We have the general conditions. So all these things will form the full contract. We have the particular conditions, includes this contract data we mentioned. So we'll see in details after this how are what are the components of this the construction contract and what does it do, the purpose of these components. We now can see also the types of FIDIC standard forms, but as I said right now, what are these components do inside the contract? So we have general conditions doing many things like checking the using plain language, and sometimes they are using visual aids. Also we'll see today some timelines as visual aids, or they can use some presentation for something workflow or timelines, as we said. Also, the general conditions defines the commencement date, how to set the commencement date, the time frames, the duration for many submittals or many correspondence between the parties. It sets also or define the rules and responsibilities of the parties of the contract, the risk allocation, the responsibility on the risks, the duties and authorities. So here it's defined also inside the general condition, the governing law, as we saw one of the subclauses right now of the general conditions, performance measurement, rights and liabilities, payments and indemnities, exchange management mechanisms, records and communication, procedure rules and priorities, closing and taking over. All of this and more are included inside the general conditions. So we will discuss all these things with the clauses of the FIDIC. In the particular conditions, you have the price, offer and acceptance, the what is offered and accepted after the negotiation, the price. You have the scope. This scope will be defined by the specifications, the drawings, some schedules. You will have sections. Maybe the scope is divided to sections. This section will be delivered in this duration, then the other section will be delivered in a different duration. Time for completion for the whole works. Then after the completion and taking over by the client or employer, so we can, if we are using FIDIC, we need to use the terminology of the FIDIC. So the terminology of the FIDIC, they are calling the owner or the client, they call employer. So we have employer and contractor. So if you are using FIDIC, you need to use the terminology of the FIDIC and also use it in the same way they are doing also in the definitions. So if they are using the employer to write in anything or any place in the sentence to be written with E capital uppercase. So if you write employer, you will write with E capital uppercase. If you write contractor, the same, you will write with C capital. And if you mentioned contractor without C capital, so you don't mean, and if you are using FIDIC, it means you are not meaning the contractor who signed this contract. You may mean other contractor. So you need to use that terminology also in the same approach in the FIDIC. After the completion, you have the defect notification period. Normally, it can be 1 year for most of the projects. You have delay damages. We call it liquidated damages, or here it in the FIDIC they call delay damages, etc. So this here we can see how the general conditions and particular conditions work together. We have the contract documents, we have parties, rules and rights and obligations, roles and responsibility, risk allocation. FIDIC will go for the FIDIC rep book. The FIDIC forms of contracts, the latest publication is 2017. They published what they called Rainbow Suit. This Rainbow Suit includes the rep book, which is the construction contract. They call it second edition. It's not the second, but it is the second from this Rainbow Suit. Since they did this grouping of these forms, this is the second edition, 2017 rep book. This group, this Rainbow group, they used the same number of clauses to be easier for people who are using the rep book. They can use the other forms with the same clauses and numbering, so it can be easy for the professionals to navigate all these types of contracts. The other one is the yellow book, is plant and design build contract. So the first one is construction contract, is designed by employer. So the employer hire a consultant or a designer and makes the design, and then the contractor go only for building the work. While the yellow book, it is design build. So the contractor will do the design and construction. And here FIDIC, they are saying this is normally used for the specialized work. You need the contractor to design the work, electrical, mechanical plants for building and engineering work designed by the contractor. The third form is the silver book. This silver book is engineering, procurement, construction, or turnkey contracts. So it is not suitable for certain circumstances, and FIDIC doesn't recommend this form, but they do because it is requested by the employers. So these three forms are the Rainbow Suit. They don't have only these three forms, they have also one other form called short form of contracts, the Green Book, and other forms also for like white book for the consultants, subcontracting, dredging, many other, the pink for the banks. So they have other forms, but these can be the key forms. This short form, they recommend it if the project is small, and the small defined here by cost under $500,000 and short time less than 6 months. So up to here, you have any question for what we discussed?
No, no. But my question is that you will be covering only the red book, right? Is it
Yes,
possible for you to cover yellow book also?
we can add it. Okay, we can. Normally, I tailor the course as per the requests. So sometimes I go to the people are interested to know about the contracts, no, globally, not only the FIDIC. So we can add something about the contracts. Here have a request to go for the yellow, so we can add the few differences. We can go for like part of one session or one session for the differences for the yellow of the other attendees are interested. But the key focus of the course is the rip book, inshallah.
Yeah, okay. Actually, what it is, actually, we are working for Saudi Electricity Company as a contractor. So mainly the designs all covered by us only. So we have to build the designs and other uh, construction activities. In this case, I think the yellow book is preferred, right?
So you are doing the design?
Yes, we are doing the design. Yes.
Yes, right. So if it's design built by the contractor, it's yellow book, right? And the yellow book is lump sum because the design is done by the contractor and the quantities will not be known in the beginning, so it is lump sum. While the red book design done by the employer, so the quantities can be you can have like takeoff before the tendering, so it is a remeasured contract. This is also one of the differences between the red and yellow.
For consultancy contract, which book will cover?
For what?
Consultancy, any if a
Consultancy
consultant working.
is a different form. It's white book because you will
Okay, that
find a rule for the engineer inside the red book, but the red book is a contract between this contract and doesn't sign this contract. But this rule is coming from the contract between the employer and the consultant. So also FEDIC, they published the white book for this contract with the consultant.
Yeah, okay.
And
But
we can discuss,
finally, when you are closing this,
yes, we can discuss the
yes, when you are
differences
closing
with
this
the
one,
yellow. It is easy, inshallah.
yeah, okay. Oh, thanks. Sure.
Okay. FEDIC contract recognition.
And so one
Yeah.
more request actually. So, sorry
Yes.
for this. One more request. Actually, when we are going into the core, you please try to explain with one of the example, live example, okay? So it will be
Yes.
better for us to get a better understanding.
Inshallah. Sure.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. So here we have from the FEDIC also they published these golden principles to see necessary to ensure you don't you don't misuse the balance or you are not upsetting the balance of the contract. So you need any modification you will make to the general conditions, you will add in the particular conditions, and this modification should be limited to the things related to the nature of the project, the site, something necessary to be comply with applicable law. For example, without changing the essential things of the fairness and balance inside the FIDIC contract. Otherwise, it will not be recognized by a FIDIC and it will not remain as a FIDIC contract because you are upsetting the main balance and the main purpose of doing or using this standard form. Also, if you are drafting the special conditions, you need to use the same terminology used in the general conditions. As we said now, for like the definitions using contractor, employer, works, these definitions. So these golden principles to be checking the general condition appropriate for the project. You need to consider this. Make any particular condition should be very clear, not ambiguous or vague, to understand and to be used. Don't change the balance of risk. The times, the periods mentioned also in the contract should be reasonable. So if you are not, you want to change any duration for like submission, review, these things inside the contract be reasonable. One of the key things also added in the FIDIC since the version of 1999 is the adding a board for disputes. This board, it was before only dispute adjudication board, and now they added additional rule to this adjudication to be also avoidance. So this board will be dispute avoidance and adjudication board. So before it was called DAB, now it's called DAAB, dispute avoidance and adjudication board. And we'll go also to the role of this and why this added, because the engineer, as I said, who was not the consultant is called engineer inside the FIDIC. So anytime I say engineer, I mean the supervision consultant. So the engineer inside the RIP book play the role of the supervision, so the role of quality, inspection, instructions in this regard. Sometimes it can play a role like a representative for the client in terms of taking over some work or sending instructions, and other times they play the role of fairness determination between the engineer, the employer and the contractor. And it is very difficult, we can say, even from the subconscious, or they are also they have their contract with the employer, and like they are serving the employer somehow, and they are the employer, the customer of the engineer, and the customer satisfaction is very important for the engineer. The definition also of the quality of the work, the engineer's work, by the normal definition of the quality in many things to satisfy the client. So to play also in the same time the role of contract administration with fairness, and we can say sometimes in some forms impartial, to be impartial and be fair even against the employer, it's very difficult. And it is, even if the contract, if the engineer is fair, the contractor will be in doubt from this fairness sometimes. So for this reason, this DAB is added. We need to add a fair party for the disputes. If the parties are not satisfied with the decision of the engineer or the determination of the engineer, we need to add another party. This party will not be in a contract or in a position of serving the employer, or will not have a contract only with one party. So this DAB will have a contract with both parties, and this DAB, normally the engineer has a contract with the employer and selected by the employer. This DAB is not selected also by the employer, is selected by both parties. So like this, they can trust more in the DAB and the fairness of the DAB. And accordingly, it is added inside the FIDIC for this purpose, to refer the things we are not satisfied from the engineer determination. It will go to the DAB, so you will have the DAB decision, and it will support to adjudicate these disputes. and they added also a rule for them to avoid the disputes, so they can consult the debt to support in the dispute avoidance with the trust. It will be almost a fair party or entity. And we'll go to this in details. How does it work inside the FIDIC? The contract documents and the clauses of the FIDIC 1999 was 20 clauses, from provisions, the parties, and responsibilities of the parties, subcontractors, stuff from the employer, the plant, the dates, commencement, delay, suspension, test and completion, taking over, and taking over certificate, or we call it preliminary in some contracts, preliminary certificate. So it's here called taking over certificate by your completion of the works, defect liability, the warranty, the 1 year after the taking over certificate, to the performance certificate, the measurement, valuation of the work, for the payments, the variation for the changes, the payments, termination, and the types of termination and suspension, risk and responsibility, insurance, force majeure, claims, dispute, arbitration. So here we have from 1999, the changes are here in 17, 19, and 20. You will find here in 2017, they said it is changed after 18 years to add more clarity on the communication and the notices. We'll see the notices in 2017 is different, with more clarity. Some mechanisms for dispute avoidance and claims treatment, quality verification, all these things. Also, they changed the particular conditions with more details to two parts. They make in two parts. Part A is contract data. If you remember, I mentioned this contract data before. It is part of the particular conditions. They call it particular condition part A, and the particular conditions part B is the special provisions. If you want to add any additional clauses or you make changes to the general conditions of the FIDIC. So the particular conditions is two parts: part A contract data and part B special provisions, and all of these parts are called the conditions of contract with this C capitals. You can see here general conditions, capital letters, and conditions of contract, initials are capitals. In 2017, we have here this clause, care of the works and the indemnity 17. The force majeure changed to exceptional events because it used under multiple jurisdictions, and under some jurisdictions the definition of force majeure in the FIDIC is different from the law. That's why they changed it to exceptional events to avoid this conflict. Insurance, here the claims are in a separate clause and called employers and contractors claims, then the disputes and arbitration in a separate claim 21. Both were together in one clause before. Now they are different, and employer and contractor claims are together in one clause, different from 1999. So this is the differences in the clauses. So it's now, instead of 20 clauses in 1999, 2017 is 21 clauses. The indices general conditions of dispute avoidance adjudication board, the agreement with them, how it will look. And as I said, you can add or modify some clauses. Sometimes we call it free clauses or ad hoc clauses, can be added with consideration of the golden rules and to be added in the special conditions. We'll discuss also the responsibilities of the parties, the work, the site access, the design work, the role of the engineer. While, as I also mentioned, it is not part of the contract, but the engineer has role inside the contract. Or I also said it's not only one role, they have multiple hats or playing multiple roles inside the contract, even if they are not part of the contract. The contract is only between employer, the rep book between the employer and the contractor. So this is what we call contract privity. That these parties can contact each other, and the employer and all parties from the employer, including the team of the employer, construction manager or project manager, supervision consultant, engineer, can be a team of the employer. In some cases, the designer, PMC, other contractors. Also, it can be employer event if they are doing something from the contractor perspective. Likewise, or on the contemporary perspective, or the other hand, the employer see all these parties are contractor representative or contractor from the contractor side, the team of the contractor, the staff of the contractor, whole staff, subcontractors, and suppliers. So we can see here no contractual relationship, for example, between the client and subcontractor. While these subcontractors are working in this project, which we have a contract between the contractor and the employer, and the contract between contractor and the subcontractor. So here, the employer cannot approach the subcontractor directly unless via the contractor or through the contractor, because no direct contractual relationship. So we'll discuss the resources, subcontractor, the different names of subcontractors. Sometimes you have nominated subcontractor, and how the FIDIC is dealing with this domination, and how does it work to be also balance risk allocation and fairness. And also we have the provisional sum and other contractors, they work. We'll go to the program for in section 4, how to define the commencement date, the advance payment, also principal, some event flow charts. As we said, some visualization we have when we need a revised program, the performance reporting, the extension of time risks. What are the risks? We can see like more than 12 or 14 risks may cause extension of time and under the FIDIC contract. You will find also these timelines from here, starting from issue of tender documents. You have a tender period, a submission of tender. There is a date, 28 days. Here you have something called the base date. It is, you can find it sometimes used inside the contract in few cases. Letter of acceptance. Within 20 days that there is a delivery of the performance security by the contractor. Then you have the commencement date, clause 8.1. Time for completion, clause 8.2. And this to be stated in the contract data, which is particular condition part A. And any extension will be under subclause 8.5. So like this, we can see this subclause commencement date, subclause extension of time 8.5, test on completion section clause 9. Here you have 4.2.1, delays by contractor, date of completion, taking over certificate, tests after completion, defect notification period, notifying defects during this period by the employer to the contractor. It may be extended to making remedy for all defects. And then we have the performance certificate and return of performance security here after the performance certificate by 21 days. So all these things, it's very important to be, all these records and time frames to be recorded and tracked while we are administering a FIDIC contract. Payments, how to be evaluated, many flowcharts for the determination, sometimes sectional completion. If we have different sections inside the contract, what the difference between section and part in FIDIC contract, defect notification period, performance certificate. As we mentioned, the variations. And the variation here can come in different phases or different cases, and what the procedure and determination. So normally in construction contract we do variations, and we can feel this is something normal, but actually it is not a normal thing. When you go, if we go to the simple form of contracts, as I said in the beginning, to when we go to buy something, we buy we see the product, we see the all features of this product, and if it is a simple product, not technology or something, so you can see everything and know the quality and everything from the product, from seeing the product and checking it yourself. You pay the money, get the product, that's it. But the construction is not like this. And also, we don't wait until the product or the project is completed and the client, or the employer, if you are using FIDIC, I have to say employer, and the employer pay the money. So the contractor cannot have the capability to do so, to do all this work on his own cost and then deliver to the employer and get the payment. That's why we have a payment mechanism inside the contract. This is not a normal thing in the contracts. It is added because of the nature of the construction contract. So we added the payment. We added the duration because we need a duration to do the project. According to this, to what we will do if it's not done in the agreed duration, we added a delay damages, to be paid by the contractor to the employer if the contractor is delayed. We added also the variation because it is, we have, as we know, the nature of the project, it's progressively elaborated. So this progressive elaboration, it means you will know more details as you progress in the project. Also, according to this nature of the duration, some things may change. The client may change his mind in something. The technology may change and new things emerge or evolve in the world. So the employer may need to do these changes, change the mind, changes in the technology, changes after you see the project. No, I didn't mean this, but it's written in the contract like this. No, I want to change. So because of this, it's added inside the contract a right to vary. So it's added the right to variation inside the contract, and here how it can be done and how these changes can be changes to quantity, to quality, to dimensions, the levels, the omission of the work, additional work, changes of sequence. All of these things can be changes added here. And there are also types of changes. It can be unilateral, bilateral. So we need to wait until we agree, then to proceed in the change, or once it's instructed by the employer, the contractor will start implementing this, and then we can agree on the prices and other things afterward. And if we don't agree, we go to the claims, we go to disputes, but the work needs to be executed. So you have different also mechanisms for these changes in the contracts, but the FIDIC, will see also how it works in the FIDIC contract. The claims, if you have events causing any damages to other party, how can make this claim, how it can be administered, all the administration of these things and the procedures and the types of the claims. And if you have claim with continuing effect, what we will do. Sometimes I have engineer instruction or request for proposal, contractor's proposal, from the contractor himself doing this proposal, not from a request. They may agree, the parties agree, or if they don't agree, they go to the engineer determination, or it can be a claim or a dispute. And we added the rule of the DAB also, we will see. We have sometimes cases of suspension by employers or suspension by contractor. If the contractor didn't get the payment, it may cause termination of the contract. We have other type of termination, optional termination for convenience. We'll discuss the DAB, the arbitration, the contract closing, the DAB flowcharts, and if they don't have agreement or satisfied with the DAB, they may also go for some negotiation and amicable settlement. Otherwise, they will go to arbitration, and will know the role of International Chamber of Commerce in the arbitration inside the FIDIC. So like this, we finished the session today as introduction, what we will have inside our course. Any question? So we'll continue
No,
the
actually,
details from
we,
next session,
yeah, we are
Saturday,
looking
inshallah.
forward for the detailed classes.
Getting what?
Detailed classes, detailed sessions.
You mean the schedule of the classes, you mean?
Yes,
Time.
yes. I won't.
Yes. It is like was planned initially 3 days a week. But I don't know if it will be easier work for everybody, or in Ramadan timing also we can do this or not. So, but next session will be Saturday, and we can discuss more details agree on everything next session, inshallah.
Yeah, with
You have
practical
any concern or
examples.
proposal?
Yeah, that's what for each and every sections when you're going with the detailed explanation, you please give us a live example in daily life.
Yes, of course. And also we will open the FIDIC itself. Do you see now the FIDIC?
Yes,
Not the slides, right? You see the PDF.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
we can open it
Will you
some.
will you will you share this PowerPoint presentation and the red book also with us?
Okay, okay, I'll share in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, okay.
So you can open
Thanks.
and go to the closes also from here sometimes, not only the presentation. You can see here, this is one of the things we discussed, this timeline we discussed today for the, we have other timelines here in the contract. We have also these are the clauses 21, including the sub clauses. Under each of these clause, we have one of the things, important things here, the definitions. 1.1 is the definition, and you have these definitions with the meaning and to be used also with this capital letters. Accepted contract amount, advance payment certificate, advance payment guarantee. So I have all of these definitions here, including contractor, employer, cost plus profit, date of completion, day means a calendar day, for example, not a working day, delay damages, disputes, all these definitions in the beginning of the contract. The definition of section, it is here as a part of works. See how they are writing works here. They are writing in capital because it is a defined word. So it is to be written like this in capital. Special provisions as part of particular part B of the particular conditions. For example, I said the particular condition is 2 parts. Time for completion, the duration of the work, extension of time. Then go 1.2, interpretation of the contract, like this. So we'll not go clause by clause because we will go to like to know the mechanism of the contract. We need to group the some clauses and to see how these clauses are incorporated by reference to each other. Like if we'll go to the extension of time, we will see the sub clauses are referring to the extension of time, for example. And we can discuss also the issues happen from this with some practical cases, why we have issues happen and how it can be solved in some cases, inshallah. Any other question?
No, nothing else.
Thank you. All
Thank you so much.
colleagues,
Yes.
any other question? Okay, see you next session, inshallah,
On Saturday.
Saturday, 21st, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.